There is no agreement yet between Labour and the federal government as negotiations over minimum wage implementation enters the third day.
Labour and Employment Minister Chris Ngige says the subcommittee of the negotiating team has been mandated to look through some documents and come up with agreeable figures. The subcommittee is to feed the larger house by 7 this evening, after which deliberations are built to be concluded.
There are indications that both parties have made some concessions, though they are yet to reach a truce. TVC News gathered that Labour has shifted ground from 29% consequential adjustment demand for grade level 7 to 14 to 25% and 20% from 24% for those on levels 15 to 17. But government says it is not feasible.
We don't want to make mistakes that could be fatal, and thereby put the whole exercise we've done in jeopardy. Therefore, we have consensually agreed that we will reconvene this meeting at 7 p.m. today.
Well, joining us now is TVC News Labour correspondent Sharon Ijason. Good morning, Sharon. Good to see you.
Good morning.
All right, you have been following developments when it comes to Labour and all of these issues, but there is a meeting to be held later today. How confident are you that there is going to be an agreement on both sides? Because some have said that this is just mere proposal.
Well, talking about agreement, some experts are of the view that if they don't come up with an agreement, the next point of action or call should be the industrial court, whereby the government should be honest enough to open its books to see how visible the increment they can afford for the consequential adjustment. So also Labour should come up with the realities on ground for an average worker to survive in 2019, looking at the increase in VAT, looking at the increase in electricity tariff, owing to the fact that also there is no budgetary allocation of any consequential adjustment increment in the 2020 budget. So as an individual, or many workers that I actually also spoke with are expectant to receive an increase, but they don't expect so much from this meeting that is ongoing.
Really?
Okay. Yes, because the truth remains that the realities on ground is, for example, the report I did yesterday, a level 7 step 8 worker at a federal level is receiving 54,000 naira. In Lagos State, I'm aware that a level 7 officer who is a graduate received 42,000 naira. So that is how poor that wage is. And if you look at the former minimum wage that we were receiving was 18,000 naira. Yeah. For them to agree to 30,000 naira, it wasn't realistic, but there was a 60% increase. So that means if they were supposed to use that same formula for the consequential adjustment salary, it means that someone earning 50,000 naira should receive a 60% increase in the salary. Now, Labour has been going back and forth, being considerate 30%, 25%, and yet the government is saying that there's no possibility, it's not visible, they can't afford it. And the truth remains that there is no implementation of minimum wage that doesn't come with a strike. And looking at the body language of Labour, they don't look like they want to go on strike.
Must that be because the ULC have opted out?
Well, we know there's a fact that ULC has strategic unions that can make strike what's the word now? More effective. But the truth remains that unity in Labour, of course, is something that would definitely be beneficiary to the average worker, of course.
So that brings me to the question of the confidence reposed on Labour right now, because it seems some workers, looking at the back and forth, have begun to lose hope on Labour's effort.
Well, the truth remains that it's not every worker that is affected. In Labour, we have the private sector, we have the public sector. For the private sector, they don't wait for 5-7 years for them to negotiate upward increment in their salary. For the public sector, for more than 5 years, they've not received increment. Even during the last minimum wage, whereby there was 18,000 naira, the value of naira hadn't devalued at that point to the level it is now. Then they didn't receive increase. There was an agreement that they should hold on. So right now, as we speak, their patience has actually be overstretched because for more than 7 years, they've not had an increase in pay. And this is a government that is fighting corruption. So there are a lot of questions left unanswered, but the truth remains that those unions that are affected, like the Association of Senior Civil Servants, of course, they would want an increment for their members. They would want to fight for their members, and they are trying their best. But the truth remains that they need support from NLC. They need support from strategic unions to make this a possibility. But the private sector can go like, oh, it doesn't affect me. I'm trying to make my own team better. So it's
we can only
it's
look
dicey.
forward to what the results will be at 7 p.m. later today. Thank you, Shara, for bringing us details.